A lot of times, you guys hear me talk about a number of different things. And one of the topics that we usually go by is the hater alert. Now, I try not to do these. You know me. I try not to do the hater alerts. I don't want to do the hater alerts because I don't like to talk about Knicks hate all the time. I like to talk about the praise as well. But I told you before, it's who's giving the hate, right? It's who's saying it that makes me triggered. Now, there's some people in the community, in the NBA community, that are responsible to give basketball takes and to make sure they watch what they say and they're fair. They're not biased. However, with ESPN and Brian Windhorst, it seems like they forgot the memo because recently Brian Windhorst was giving some comments about the Knicks and their offseason moves. And if you listen to what he says about the Knicks, it would seem like the Knicks failed in the offseason, made some destructive, disastrous moves, and now we're a terrible team. We're a team with no hope now. That's how bad he made it seem. So, hater alert, come on up. And now, highlighting you, Brian Windhorst. Brian Windhorst stated the following. Additionally, Brian Windhorst stated he warned that the Knicks about he warned the Knicks about the $210 million contract extension for OG Anunoby. He states, I understand why they paid OG Anunoby what they paid him. I don't think that's necessarily a great contract. Even though the team re-signed OG Anunoby for a 5-year, $212 million max contract as part of their strategy and to form one of the best defensive wing combinations in the NBA with Bridges, Windhorst believes that this decision might come back to haunt them in the future. And he doesn't necessarily think it was a great contract. Now, okay, we could talk about this in a few ways, but that last part, come back to haunt you? No. That right there is taking it to a level that you didn't need to take it. You were dramatizing it. You were trying to make it bigger than it needed to be. There was no reason to say that. Why did you say that? It was going to haunt us? It's not going to haunt us. We paid OG Anunoby the money we needed to pay him because if we didn't pay him and we let him walk, the trade we made for him would have made no sense, number one. Number two, if we didn't pay him, Philadelphia would have paid him as well. So let's not forget the other obstacles around why the Knicks paid OG Anunoby. You can say whatever you want to say about Mikal Bridges. It's an overpay. It's this, it's that. The reports right now is that Mikal Bridges is likely going to take a major discount like Brunson did and sign an extension with the Knicks. If he does that, it's going to even prove more why that trade was not an overpay. The Knicks are going to be good. Definitely a good team for at least 2 years. That means out of the picks that we give, I'm not going to include the pick swap because that still means we have a pick. And I'm not going to include the Milwaukee pick because that's not our pick. I'm only going to talk about our unprotected picks. If 2 years go by and the Knicks are good and those picks don't mean anything, then really we gave up 2 picks that might mean something, might not. And in my opinion, the Knicks are going to be a good team for 5 years, maybe even beyond that, because of the roster that we have and the character of the players on this team and what they're willing to do, what they're willing to sacrifice in order to make this Knicks team competitive and stay a championship contender. That is something important. But Brian Windhorst doesn't want to acknowledge that. He just wants to say that the OG contract was an overpay, and it was slightly, but we know why. And the Mikal Bridges trade was an overpay, and it was slightly, but we know why. But to say that it could come back to haunt us, that's just saying that you think the trade is not a good move, they're bad moves, and the Knicks made some type of misstep by going into that. And when you do that, you stop being analyst and you start being more fan. Fan of what? I don't know. Fan of over dramatizing things? Maybe. I don't know. But all I'm trying to say is that sounded like a shot. You could make those statements and still be unbiased, but that's not what happened. You made those comments and then somewhere in there put in the fact that you think it's going to haunt us, that you think that these moves later on are going to be moves that we regret. We're not going to regret the Mikal Bridges trade. I think we're going to look back on it and say, how in the world did Leon get that working? How did he pull off that move? There is no way we should have Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby on the same team. That's a cheat code. That's a cheat code. OG and Mikal on the same team? That's stifling. You can't even enter the paint. Do we understand that? That's what the Knicks have right now. Regret it? And then OG Anunoby. Take him off the court. How do the Knicks look? Put him on the court. How do the Knicks look? Night and day difference. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Come on, Brian. You're a professional. You do this. You're on ESPN. You do this. ESPN Plus articles. I got to pay to read you. You do this. And this is what I hear? This is the commentary that I'm hearing? I hope in a year or two, when the Knicks have proven you and everybody else wrong, that you'll come back and you'll address this hater alert. And you'll say, you know what? Probably shouldn't have said that. I was probably going a little bit overboard. I probably was over dramatizing the situation. Either way, Ryan, watch what you say and be respectful, especially to this Knicks team. We don't regret anything that we've done this offseason. We regret nothing, not a thing. Why? Because we made the right moves. We made the moves to make us championship contenders. Ask any team in the league. Would you regret if you made moves in the offseason that made you a championship contender when before you otherwise weren't? Nope. So why should the Knicks apologize? They don't have to apologize for a thing. You will, though. Hater alert. Brian, I'm going to remember this. I hope you remember it too, because I'm going to bring it back when the Knicks shatter all of these expectations. If you enjoyed these clips from the live show, be sure to subscribe to the channel and have notifications turned on so you don't miss any new episodes or when we go live. Thanks for watching, Knicks fans, and until next time, peace.